Hey, hi there. Let's see if the webinar works today. We have a completely new environment. Yesterday, we destroyed the files when the computer crashed. I had to do a little trick today to get us started. And let's try to figure out how how do we survive this evening. But before we start, let me adjust the WhatsApp group here next to me. I have a search screen. I have a WhatsApp in one corner, presentation in the middle, sources on the side. And this is kind of a practice webinar on a YouTube. It's recorded if you want to go through it. What's the best part of the day is actually that you will get a couple of sources. It's a cheat sheet. You will get through with that list without the problem to exam. And then what else? We have a practice quiz, and then we have a full training material. And what was destroyed yesterday was actually just the presentation I was supposed to run. So let's get started, and let me change the screen. I wanna find the chat. This is the StreamYard today. Yesterday we were on what was the name? It was, give me a second, Riverside. And this one seems to work better. But what's missing is the chat. Let's see if it works here. Let's ask, how are you doing? And then the most important part, how is the audio today? I'm today relying on my headset. Normally I have a separate microphone by Rode that works way better, but we have to work what we have today available. Just hit me a comment. How is the audio? Is it okay today? And then we can actually continue. I will show you a couple of things today, which will help you a lot. Because everything's available free for self-study. And then we will do a couple of webinars. We will have today the part, and then I will edit the presentation tomorrow. Tomorrow is also a booking day, so the webinar will be from most likely from 3 to 4. I will schedule it on the channel. So go and look from there. I think you can also subscribe. Then you will get automated reminder in your email if something is available. Hey, nice to have you online, and you are hearing my voice. Yesterday, oh my God, it was it was awful. I was in a total panic that how to get it to work, but here we are. Audio is working, virtual background behind me is okay, and screen sharing is working. But hey, 8 people online. Let's start with materials we have available for you. These materials are created by me. I created them because I need study hours for international certificates. I'm now certified in Finnish occupational safety environment, but I want to get internationally recognized certificates. And for those, I need teaching hours. I need to create study material for people, create courses, and that's how you help me. I'm really happy to create all kind of material which is related to safety, different working methods. Just give me an ideas and we will get it done. But hey, let me let's see. There's a question. Do I take a folk left exam? Now you need to open a bit more. What is a folk left exam? I don't know if I can do that. Hygiene passport exam, I'm not taking. That one has to be done locally. So I'm happy to provide all the material for free. Then you will pick a local exam, and then when it's exam time, you most likely will pass with the first try. Why I created the safety training, not safety, sorry, wrong course. Why did I create hygiene passport training material? Because many people who took part to occupational safety training, they told, I went through hygiene passport test. I retook it like 3 times, and it was a lot of money. And they were worried that, hey, do I pass occupational safety card training from the first try? Because it might be really expensive to retake. And these trainings are not that hard that people wouldn't pass them from the first time. We just need to present the material, put it everything in front of our eyes, and then it's easy to pass. And I created you one really good tip list for the exam. That one you can print, you can look it through every day, or you can have it on your phone, computer, read it, get a couple of numbers right, and then you will pass the hygiene passport test. What is the part where people fail when it comes to hygiene passport test? They fail to the little details which are not part of our everyday life. They are numbers about the danger zone when the bacteria grows the fastest, or cooling temperatures, or then to some microbes they are asking. But what is the best part in these exams? And same, by the way, applies to occupational safety passport, safety card, that you don't have to have a perfect score to pass it. So there's room for an error. Main idea is that we understand the main topic. That's only what's required. And that's what we do. Let me create rest of the slides. I'll show you something. Before that, I will tell what happened yesterday. Let me take here. Can I show it somewhere? Yeah, I can't get it. It's a command line tool. I created the slides from the source material with AI, so it will be a bit surprise for me what it created, but I did a test run. It did it quite well. But before we go to the slides, let's have a look what we have on a site. I will actually copy a link for you. It's in a chat. Here it is. It's my English site, and there I'll try to collect all the material I have available. Some of them are still hidden, but they are slowly coming, and most of that material is free to access. So the page we have now, we have just a couple of general words about hygiene passport training. And here is a really good link for you. The next I will show you what's behind that link. And that's your key to pass the hygiene passport test from the first time. Yeah, hi, Prapas. Nice to have you here in a chat and in a stream. But let's scroll a bit down. This list is something you need. And then we scroll a bit down. And here you have a copy of hygiene passport exam. Of course, it's not the exam you will have on a real exam, but it's really close. And now I don't remember, do I have a pool of 100 or 200 different questions, but there should be enough. So if you want to get the starting point on this page, the link in the chat, you can practice the test. You just pick a true, false, however you like. Of course, you read the questions. And when you are in the end, it will show you the score for you. And then it will give a explanation. Let's try if it works. Now I'm just randomly picking. Let's click this through. I want to show what happens when it's done. It will take a while. 40 questions. Let's see if we pass with just clicking through. To be fast enough, I'm not even trying to read what we have there. We are in the number 23 and it goes forward. Hey, meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can hit it in the chat. I'm clicking here to pass the test. Not to pass, but to show the results. There it is. We didn't do really well. 14 out of 30 was right. But check down. We will start scrolling. We had a question here. If it's green, that was true. And then under it, we have a theory. I think it took, was it a 1 or 2 nights when I did this test? and and it's based on the practice test and the material what is available. And I try to group it the way that it has a wide variety. So you can see and check. Here we pick the true. It was a false answer. It's surrounded with red dotted line. And then explanation is under that why it was wrong. So this is a really good way to study. But I have something better there. Just bear with me and we will see. And now we are going to look the link here. That link, just click it and it will open you a page looking like this. The ultimate cheat sheet for the Hygiene passport exam. And what is this list? Let me zoom a bit. If you have a small screen, I'll try to get it a bit bigger. Here it is. I have gone through the official training material. I have a couple of books. I have slides from the different trainings. And here I have collected every hard part for the exam. Things are which are, for example, for me, really hard to remember. And like optimal growth of bacteria, plus 20 to plus 45. And then thermophilic bacteria thrive 41 to 122. Not all of them I have seen in an exam, but I have not seen all the questions. So I collected all these little tips and tricks for you to remember. Here's a bacteria grow range, but see what's common here. And that one is asked very often. It's a danger zone they are asking from 6 degrees to 60 degrees. And you can see a lot of them will fall mostly in that range. And this number to remember, there's a part where they talk about sterilizing food. Then you need to go to higher degrees. I think, was it for a milk? Was it 135 degrees? But we will see. No worries. We have time today. And scroll down. And here we have numbers I have seen very often, especially in the practice tests. Like general heat to kill microbes, it has to be over 70 degrees. When we are cooking poultry, it has to be at least plus 75 degrees. That's why I have seen very often. Same applies for meat. Then norovirus, this one I have also seen in an exam, that there's some statement that 62 degrees kills viruses. But hey, it's not true. We need to have plus 90 degrees at least for 2 minutes. And if we want to kill bacteria spores, this one I also have seen very often, then we need over 100 degrees. And when we go over 100 degrees, we talk about pressure sterilization. Because when you think about heating liquids, you need to have a pressure if you want to go over 100 degrees. Without pressure, it doesn't go there. And then we scroll down. Here is pasteurizing plus 70 to 100 degrees. That one I have also seen in an exam. And this one I have specially seen, milk pasteurizing plus 71 to plus 74, at least 10 to 30 seconds. And here, this one you need to remember, the difference between two things. Pasteurizing, it means that it doesn't kill everything. That food still spoils. And if we want to kill bacteria, spores, everything in a food product, for example, in a milk, we need ultra heat treatment, which is called sterilization very often in that exam. And that number I have seen very often in an exam, plus 135 degrees at least for 2 minutes. And then you get the product which is self-stable at the room temperature. But you can see, list has a lot of things to remember in an exam. And this one I have also seen very often in a material, that we have to reheat the food over 70 degrees if we are serving it again. Like we are reheating something which is ready. And here's a very common topic, which is a dangerous zone, that it's from 6 degrees to plus 60 degrees that we need to minimize the time there. For example, if we are heating food, we need to heat it really fast, that it's as quickly as out from that area. Or if we cool the food down, we need to cool it fast. Divide it into small portions on the different trays, put it in the cooling unit, and that's the right way to do it. Sometimes in an exam, for example, when we are cooling the items, there's a statement that we can cool food in a fridge where we are storing another food products. But we actually can't do it, because what happens when we throw food in the fridge? It heats up the fridge, especially if we put big quantities. The fridge doesn't have a capacity to cool it fast enough. Instead of cooling the food really fast, it will raise the fridge temperature and then it will start cooling. So it has a chance to put another products in a danger zone quite fast. And then important numbers to remember: the storing temperature, like minced meat plus 4 degrees, storing whole meat at least minimum is 6 degrees. The 4 is preferable. And then meat has to be even less. And oil, bread, wheat products, they can be plus 10 to plus 14. Here it says a room temp storage, but if you have a different storage, that's the range which would be preferably. And then dry food storage can be plus 18 degrees. This one I have also seen quite often, that it should be minus 18 degrees when freezing the foods. And then here is an important number, that when you get delivery, especially frozen goods, you need to have it minus 15 degrees. Those I have seen. For example, a statement that if you receive a food which is minus 8 degrees, is it okay? But yeah, it's not okay, because it's more than minus 15 degrees. And here's a mention that freeze to kill most parasites is minus 20 degrees, but it doesn't kill everything. That's also mentioned in the material. Let's see if it comes. Then serving temperature, very often asked. Like hold hot food during the service has to be over 60 degrees, and you need to check it regularly. It's in a self-plan for example, for restaurants. It's all described there. Let's browse through the material and see what we have there. And then service role, all mentioned here. And a couple of things about the exam itself. These are just added here for us to remember that hygiene passport test, it will take 45 minutes. You have to stay at least 20 minutes in. And what else we have here? Let's browse a bit. Yeah, the times are mentioned. Then wash cycles. Everything's mentioned here. And you can see that we have a lot of information which is not something we deal with every day. So we just need to remember it. Because remember the target of the card. Why do we have Hygiene Passport? It is that we understand the system we have here. And that system is made to keep people safe and healthy. And then there's a big part of OwnCheck monitoring, logs, creating a plan. pH scale is here mentioned. Also, this is what I have seen very often in an exam, that where the bacteria multiplies best. It's 6 to 8 in pH. And what kind of questions we have had in an exam? We have had, for example, that can we prolong food lifespan with lowering pH, for example, with acid like vinegar. And that's a true statement. That's exactly what we do. We try to alter the pH to adjust how long it will preserve and stay good. And scrolling a bit down, here we have a couple of definitions. This one I have also seen very often, like definition of a food poisoning, the epidemic definition. It is as low as two persons with similar symptoms that they ate same food. And here we have a couple of dimensions. I don't remember, have I ever seen dimensions asked? I think no. This is just something I picked because I have a bad habit to pick all kind of numbers and try to create a list because I'm really bad at remembering things. But yeah, this is your cheat sheet for the test. Take it. It's completely available there. And if you want to prepare with your own time, check what we have here. I'll check where do we have. Here we have a course catalog. Scroll a bit down, a couple of courses on the way. And here we have a self-study material. Oh, there's a guy in a picture. Let's scroll that one quickly. And here's the index. This is absolutely free to take. Just go. I don't think you even need to log in there. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we click a one. Yeah, it just opens. No restrictions because I put it there free mode. And here we have a lot of text, like basics of microbiology, all the definitions, just to understand a bit deeper the topic itself. And you can just go through it. Everything explained here. And then in the end of this page, I have a glossary of terms to understand what actually we were reading. That binary fission and so on, bacterial spores. I know that one goes way too deep into details. But if you read something that you don't understand, it's all explained there. And if it happens that you don't understand something, you can leave a comment. And that comment will pop on my web server's backend as a comment. And I actually answer to those comments. That if you have a question, explain this a bit differently, I will explain it. And I will add explanation in the training material. And that's the idea of free course, that you give an input and I will make it better. And that will serve for everybody. And then you just click a next lesson and there's a new topic. Let's put a heart. I'm not sure if I can put if I'm not logged in. No, I can't. And here is the FATOM principle, for example. FATOM is nutrition, moisture, temperature, acidity, oxidity, and time. Just explaining how things work. And then it explains all the details under it. And it has enough text and details to pass the test. And here you can see, we just went through the cheat list. And same thing you can find here, like danger zone Can't speak anymore. I already run today one course. My voice is rough. I'm doing my best. Here it says that danger zone, that food should be stored outside of a range +6 to +60 degrees of Celsius. And that one we can use the term danger zone. Why it's a danger zone? Because there the bacteria will multiply very quickly. And we remember ACD from that cheat sheet we just read. Here it says that ACD is measured the pH scale 1 to 14, with pH 7 would be around neutral. And then the same range where the bacteria multiplies best. That one was 6 to 8, pH 6 to 8. And now you can see why that cheat sheet is important. You can go that one through in advance. You can read it, go it if you have multiple days till the exam, just go through that list. And then when you read the material, it's not any more new information. It's easier to understand and remember. And that's how I learn. I can't just read something and remember. I will fail miserably. And then again, we have a glossary here. Let's go back to study material, and I'll show you what we have here also to make your life a bit easier. We have a fundamentals, and every section has a summary and a quiz. We have a summary to remind the key takeaways. Here I have again collected really good tips for you that you can reflect the statement to these tips. And then where do we have a test link here? I think I need to log in to have it. The text, the link for it is here under. Let me see. Can I log in? I have a feeling that does this browser have my credentials? No, it doesn't have. Let me stop sharing the screen for a moment and see if I can sign up there. Not sign up, but does it remember my credentials? Do I have a login here? Now I know what I do. Just give me a second. I'll force myself through the systems that I have a full rights. Let's see how it works. Hopefully better than things yesterday. Because yesterday, that was interesting day from the from the morning till the evening. But here, make a page a bit smaller there. Now I'm going to courses. Hey, we have 16 guys online. Nice. And then we have a comment there. Sometimes the way they have asked the questions, it's so tricky. That is true. But hey, do you know what I do if I have a multiple, so not multiple, but true or false statement? That I read it twice. I read it twice with a thought. And then I will think it the way that do I disagree with it or do I agree with it? And that one gives me usually the best result. But key, again, is in the details. Let's see. Have I things ready here? Yes. Let's get the screen share back and we bypassed all the, we practically got the admin rights. You can see that it's a WordPress site and we are logged in to the page. Where do I find I wanna share the screen a bit differently. I want to have a big screen. There it is, like this. And every every section had that key takeaways, like mentioned, and then you can test how would you do. It has a minimum passing grade, 65%. I tried to adjust it the way for the exam, of course, because the pool is so small, it's not even close to real one, but why not? And then you just go and answer to them. And then, by the way, here people have left comments when they have something to comment, and I'm really happy to go through comments and provide extra help. And then again, you can just pick the answers. Next question. Let's not read them. Let's go through it a bit faster. Then we will see how we will do. And this one happens also in the exam, that if you just go through things, you will, if you guess the questions, most likely it will be a fail. And here you can see a progress bar on top of it. Let's see. I want to just show you the explanation, what we have here. And then when it's done, it will give you a score. And here we will have your course details, the progress, everything is marked there. And then it gives you the answers. And also the explanation. You just click, for example, the false answer. Here's the statement. You scroll a bit down and here's a clarification to explain why it was wrong. And then just take these and you will get a lot of information. I can say that you can pass the exam just taking the basic quiz and going through the cheat sheet. And then we have, let's go through at least the basics of a presentation. That was the information what's freely available to you. Let me paste the course page for you. And let's see, how can we get back to that page? Let's go through that way. And I will add a link in a chat. So the key takeaway was here that material was free. Just go through, read it. But if you want to take a practice quiz, then you need to enroll. But there, just fill your information, name, email address if you want, and you don't have to fill real addresses or something like that. It's just from the system, and that's why it asks a lot of details. If you don't want, don't fill it. And in a chat we have now the link. Hey, I have a control over chat, something what I didn't have on Riverside. But hey, let's go through a little, not little presentation. It's just a text. What happened yesterday was that in the beginning of the live stream, the computer started to be really slow. And we started the live stream. Audio wasn't available there. From my side, everything looked working fine. And then I made a mistake. I restarted the computer thinking that everything would come back to normal settings. And then everything crashed. In a WhatsApp group, you can see the screen. I took a picture of what I'm doing at this moment, and you can see that I have just a terminal there. Then I fixed it. I got back in the Linux system, and then that process killed the presentation we had. I lost a bit information, but I recovered most of it. And now I created a small presentation. I can show you. Let's see if I can create. Let's put that back. I'm also learning the StreamYard while being with you here. I have so many options here. Now I stop the screen, let the screen share. Okay, I have it here one. I'll show you. How did we save the situation? Check, I have here a terminal connected to Google AI, and I have my source material, and now we need to create the slides to 133. And here we have AI creating slides for us to use. But I can say that they are not pretty, and tomorrow I will take time and recreate them. But let's see what we have done, because I did already slides from 1 to 50. At least it has useful information, and it made sense, at least a bit. Let's see what we have here. I'm again sharing a screen. Let's take a different tab, and here we have it. And this is something what AI created for us from the material I have online. So it's quite impressive that it can do a lot of things for us, but you can see that it's missing the human touch from it. But let's start. This is the summary from the material we have online. That basically, why do we have Hygiene passport test? To make people to learn. Because it's about the food safety. It's developed to promote food safety, and that one is managed by Finnish food authorities. It's basically risk-based control, and it ensures effective and consistent food safety across the supply chain. What it means that it starts from the producers, goes to the supply chain, and then that one delivers products to, for example, a restaurant, and that chain continues to the table where the client will eat the food. And then also what happens after it, cleaning, washing. So it has all the details in this system. And even if it goes in such details, it's still basic information. It's not hard to learn. It's not a rocket science, but you have to remember a couple of terms and numbers. And let's see what we have next. Do I have a presentation control here? I don't think I have. So I need to click it here. Where do we need a Hygiene passport? And on the safety trainings, I have had a lot of people who collect all the available certificates there are. But you need to target your effort, at least from my point. That's my opinion, that we have a limited time available and we should put our efforts where it makes a difference. And if you find yourself that you want to work in a cafes, restaurants, you need in the shops which are selling unpacked perishables, or you go to work in a food production, for example, bakeries, or Atria is a one really big employer, then you need to get Hygiene passport. Cafes, healthcare, and then also sometimes in delivery. So these are the cases you need a Hygiene passport. And let's see what we have next. This is also new for me. It's first time I see these slides, but I had to recover the presentation somehow because people were waiting, and this is a fun practice for me too. A bit guidance, yeah, FFA table about handling, and here a table, yeah, it's the cheat sheet we have on my page, and then in the training material I have links to different files. And how did I build the training material? Partly is that, for example, if you decide to open a restaurant or work with the food, that it also would provide instructions to that direction. And if you find something you are interested or you have a requirement, for example, when you are finding the paperwork to city officers, you can ask from me that, hey, they are asking these are these things, where do I find them? And I will add it to the training material. But then about the Hygiene passport text, it's a A4 paper you will get after the past exam, and then credit card size, the plastic card. When I did the Hygiene passport, I don't remember, did I even get that plastic card? It could be that I only had a paper. It's printed in a folder. It's a really old. I used to work in a bakery, so I had to go through the training. And it's always personal Hygiene passport. So it's only for you. Even if the company would acquire it, that they send you for the course, you go pass it, it's your personal card. And if you change the job, they can't require that, hey, give it back or don't use it. Or the worst thing that they would ask money for it, that they paid the exam. Then you can say that, hey, sorry, it was my personal card and there's no way they can take it away from you. A couple of things about the test itself. And this question I get a lot because I run occupational safety card trainings. People ask that, hey, do I run Hygiene passport tests? Because it's really handy to do things online, supervised in a Google Meet, very relaxed environment. We can stay at home. But Hygiene passport test is always taken locally. You need to go to place where it's arranged, book a time, and then you will go and do it in person and write on the paper. And then you will return the paper, show your ID, and that's it. You have 45 minutes time to do it, but you can leave when the 20 minutes has gone. And then this is AI gibberish there written on the screen. Just skip it. I will clean it for the real presentation. Like said, it has 40 uh, true or wrong, true or false statements, and it covers the whole topic we have there online. And here it said that 34 you need out of 40 and you will pass. And take your ID card with you. Some people have left it and there's no way you can return the test without ID. Here's a list of identifications. The Finnish ID, of course, works. Also foreign ID, like driving license or passport. What kind of information they save from you? Very often people ask that, hey, what about the social security number? That where do we enter that one? But these systems tries to collect as limited amount of information from you as possible. Basically, the minimum is a full name, date of birth. That's what you go quite far. And if it happens that suddenly there is two persons with exactly same name, then there will be an additional identification, like a part of the middle name or whatever is the system. And that's how it's handled. Because in EU, we try to be very careful with data, not to store sensitive information in multiple places. And then if they store that information, they are also responsible for it. That if that information leaks, it will be a very hefty bill for the company. So minimum information is always always kept in mind. And what about if we lose a hygiene passport? Save somewhere that who arranged the exam, the company, the person who did it for, and then you can contact to that place that, hey, I lost my card, I need a new one. And that's how it's handled the easy way. Like when we think about places who organize the exams, This one just happened. The one person sent me a message in a WhatsApp that hey, what to do? Booked a time for a hygiene passport test. Didn't notice that booked the wrong day and went there. The name wasn't in the system and couldn't return the exam. It wasn't accepted. And he was worried that, hey, did I lose the money? I took part. But then he contacted the company who arranged it that, hey, it wasn't my mistake. I accidentally booked the wrong day. The message went in the spam folder. I didn't notice it. And could I retake it? And the company arranged a new exam instead of the old one. And no another expenses were created in that process. So always be open and answer questions. They are usually very helpful. No need to be afraid that, hey, can I contact them? Of course you can. And let's save here. And by the way, you will get the paper certificate. Save that one. Like I have that one and I have no another certification. This is still about the lost hygiene passport. I'm not sure was it in the online training material, but I could add there part that how to get your hygiene passport if you lose it, because it happens. And here's a bit information. This is a bit plain presentation. How do I say it? It doesn't go in the order of the practice material, but I could actually fine tune it for the tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow 3 to 4 I will run fixed slides for us. But here we can see, for example, foodborne illness, that medical exams are required, that every person who works in a restaurant will go, for example, in a salmonella test, that you are clean and you don't have any foodborne illnesses. And if you have, it's straight away a sick holiday that until you are fine and then you can come back to work. That one I have seen in an exam, for example, that if you get a small wound, can you keep working? Of course you can. You put a band-aid, you wear a glove, and then you're absolutely good to go. But if you have infection, for example, then absolutely no. Or you have a bleeding wound, then of course no. So you need to keep it from the point that can I control this hazard? Yeah, here is again about the mandatory medical exam. This is more the details, not very often in a exam. In an exam, I have seen a lot of hygiene related questions. And here are the main parts, like personal hygiene, that one we have to prioritize from the point of the cleanliness. Like under it, we have a mention about the clothes. We have a protective clothing. We always have a clean clothing. If it's dirty, we will change it. And then clothes are always designated, that they are your own work clothes, that you don't share them. Couple of good things to remember for the exam. And here we have a food hygiene the best practices list. I can see this one was the long list. It goes a bit outside of the screen, so I need to divide it on the 2 slides. But like I said, yesterday we crashed, we lost the original material, has to be rebuilt, but not a big deal. But good reminders here that always minimize the touching, that avoid unnecessary contact with the food. To avoid it, use stencils that handle the food with appropriate stencils, like now I lost the word, but that little tool which makes click, click, and it's a really long. But yeah, you can see, long day, it's getting late. And then taste with utensils, that you use a spoon, use it only once, or I can have seen also a question about the technique, that you have one spoon, then with one another spoon you take a food and then you put it on that and then you can taste it. Never taste it with your own fingers. That question I have seen quite often, that can I taste food with my own fingers? No, you can't. Danger zone, very common one. The idea of a danger zone is to prevent food exposure to danger zone temperatures, that we keep them in a limited time there. And then a couple of words about personal hygiene, that avoid touching the hair, nose, and so on while working. Hand washing, there's actually on our training material the routine for hand washing. That's also sometimes part of the exam. I'm wondering, can I? Now my picture is hiding a bit text, but under my picture there is that no sneezing, and then of course no smoking and nose in the food premises. You can see a lot of very common sense things, nothing to be afraid in the exam. Then personal hygiene repeats a bit previous one, but again the clothing, easy clean materials usually, actually that should be provided by the employer. Prioritize the laundry over washing by yourself. Again, why employers should provide your clothes. Always have to check the cleanliness of your clothes before the work. Like when I worked in a bakery, I worked on a Vasan, and we had a rule that we had a clothes provided by the company, and we had to check that are they clean when we start to work. And if we notice that we have stains, they are not clean, we had to throw them to the wash. That was a no-brainer for us. And clean footwear to prevent contamination. That always you need to have a separate set of shoes at work, the work shoes. And then of course, head covering is the key in maintaining hygiene, that you don't drop hair in the food, for example, that you have that hair net. And if you have a visitors, they also have mandatory clothing. Usually they have those shoe covers when they come in. They can throw a separate jacket on them, and that one will work. And of course a hairnet for them. Hand and skin safety. This is missing a big picture, but we will add it there. It's a good template to work with. I'm really impressed what the AI did for us. Hand cleaning, yeah, critical when handling the foods. And then we always use gloves, and they are for a single work period. That's actually a keyword, the single work period. What it means that when you start, for example, working with the food, you will put the gloves on, and when you are done with it or you go for a break, you take those gloves off and you throw them in trash, and you don't pick them back. That one I have also seen here and there in a practice test. I think I have do I have 12 or 18 different kind of practice tests? The different companies, different systems has used. I have a bad habit to collect all kind of material. And then hand and skin safety continues, that no infections, that your hands are clean from the infections. That's also important for the exam. What it means that, yeah, you don't have a wounds which has an infection. Wound, if it's a clean cut, that's okay. That one you can protect with a glove. But if it has an infection, that's a no-go. And then a couple of reminders, and this is especially for food production. We had in Vasan very strict rules about makeup, nail polish, jewelry. Okay, that doesn't concern me. I didn't have makeup or nail polish, but for example, wearing rings, we had to take them away. Why do we need to take rings away? And this is also an exam question. We have to take rings away because, for example, when it's against your hand, the bacteria will stay under it, and it gets things contaminated very fast from there. That's why you need to remove all the rings, jewelry, and then you can, for example, wash your hands really well, and you're good to go. And cover cuts on hands or forearms, like using gloves. Here's a mention what we talked earlier, using the gloves, that if hand is injured, we have to wear a glove. and then we are good to go. But I have one case I were not good to go when wearing a glove that I was working in a hospital. You can see that I have a lot of different works for a safety trainer. Uh, I worked when I was studying at school. That was in the town I was living. And I worked in a hospital kitchen on my free time. After the school, I went to wash dishes there. On the weekends, I washed dishes. When we had holidays like a Christmas and things like that, they were happy, very happy to give me shifts because the regular people wanted to have a holiday. And once I cut my hand, I put the band-aid and I put the glove on it. But then they sent me home because the glove was the glove was full of blood because it was a really big cut on my hand. So you need to be you need to consider that how bad the cut is that you can continue working. And here's a small washing routine that hands with liquids and perfume soap and so on. But that's enough of a hand and skin safety. You can see again, it's a quite general information, nothing is special hidden in it. Common sense would say. And here are a couple of rules to remember. Again, common sense. But because it's a basic training material to raise a knowledge on a certain level, that's why we have a very basic information here. But it's good to remember, of course, after the toilets, we have to wash hands before food handling, after dressing changes, after dealing with illness, after handling raw food, after touching contaminants. What is missing? Oh, I ran out of water. Should have taken 2 classes. I have some talk here an hour. What's missing here? It's missing when you change from one kind of food to different kind. For example, from vegetables to meat or fish or poultry. Then you need to also clean your hands, wash them, change the gloves if you're using them, and things like that. That one I have seen sometimes in an exam, that when changing a food process to different one, then you also need to clean your hands. Here is the uh, also continuing when to wash, and you can see that it's not always on the kitchen related, because we would think about that hygiene passport for the kitchen restaurant working with food, but after animal waste cleanup, of course, after touching your hair, face, nose, for example, sneezing, when you handle the waste food, that's actually a strict rule. When you take a waste out, you need to wash your hands and so on. But I don't believe people have problems in an exam with these questions. They are just for a basic rule. Uh, can you guess what is the reason why we have a basic information here? And same applies to any another certificates. Because we can divide responsibility into 2 different categories. It can be divided in the juristic responsibility and then moral responsibility. Juristic responsibility is more controlling the company and the operation, the systems of it. And these certificates gives you a moral responsibility. That moral responsibility, how it works. Uh, when you go through the training, you have that exam, you passed it. So you have a proof that you know the topics. But then if you work against the rules at work, you have known that you are cutting the corners, or you knowingly make the mistake. You made a choice to break the rules. And that gives a leverage for a company to control the environment. For example, people who don't follow the rules, company can remove them from there. They can say that, hey, sorry, you knew that was against, for example, hygiene rules. And now we need to remove you from this premises, that you can't work anymore for us. So it gives a leverage for company. Same time, it raises our basic knowledge on a certain limit. We have a food hygiene tasks here. Why do we have them? The main idea is to prevent contamination. we stop harmful substances entering food and continuing in that chain. And we also control microbes, kill or inhibit microbial growth in food. But common misunderstanding is that can we kill all of them? Also a little point for the exam. We can't kill all of them. That's why we talk about control. We try to start with the point with the least amount of the microbes and make their growth so small that it doesn't manage to cause a problem before the food is, for example, consumed. That's the idea of the chain. Um, then we have a chain of safety here, that hygiene matters. Like said in the very beginning, that it's a long chain. We try to make it from the beginning till end safe. Basically from farm to fork, it's safe for us. Contamination risks are in all parts in that process. For example, in a slaughter, when the cattle is handled, or wheat is harvested, things are in a storage, distribution, transportation, and then when we are prepping it. You can see it's a long chain and a lot of things can go wrong in it. That's why the hygiene passport system is really important. It will deliver us a lot of information which we can use in all the steps. And then reminder that poor hygiene, it can lead to foodborne diseases very easily. We remember a bit earlier we had a definition of I lost the word, but it was when a big group of people gets ill, and that number was 2. So it gets serious quite fast. And here was mentioned the KOK website. Yeah, we have a lot of information there. Here's a food classification, and it's good to know what we have here, because sometimes it's also part of the exam. Exam talks about perishable foods. Those are meat, poultry, fish, milk, eggs, raw fruits, and so on. And then we have cooked foods. They are considered perishables, and they require those specific serving and storage temperatures. They vary that cheat sheet, easy to remember. I don't know, are they easy to remember, but information is easily available. And then we have storage here. There we keep perishable foods, refrigerated or frozen for a longer shelf life. A couple of terms they use in the test, but not too hard to remember. And then we have a semi-perishable food handling. Like, let's see what's the difference. Let's take one back. We have a perishable foods. Here we have meat, poultry, fish, milk, and so on. These are things which will go bad really fast, the raw materials. And then the next one is semi-perishable food handling. And here the shelf life is at least 6 months to 1 year if stored correctly. So these are the foods you can store for a long period of time. Examples in this category: flour, grains, dried fruits, dried mixes. And this is what makes it sometimes hard in an exam, that we don't remember the definition. That there's an example, they say that semi-perishable food something something. And then we see the rule, we understand the rule, but we don't remember that what was a semi-perishables. So again, it's in the details when it comes to exam. Reminder about safe food handling, that non-perishable foods, they spoil if handled carelessly, quality degrades even in ideal storage, and dented cans. That one I have seen quite often, that hey, if there's a dented can, you can use it if it smells okay. But if you find cans with a dent, you shouldn't use them, because that's a defect. Something might break from the can to the food. It can leak a bit or something like that. Same thing when you go to grocery, we never buy dented cans. They always stay behind the another cans and nobody buys them. At least nobody should be buying them. And here's a one more, which I would maybe add on the list. For example, if you have a vacuum packed food, and if the vacuum is broken, that it's a bit puffed, or you can see that it's not so tight package, same rule applies. We don't use that one. Then food date labels. Best before, that one indicates the peak quality, not the safety. Best before is the one you can still use. If it smells, tastes, feels okay, that one is good to go. It only states that you should use it before. Semi-perishable products should be used by this date, and products can be sold used after the best before date. So it's a guidance rule. Here is a couple of rules about food packaging dates. Used by date. This is crucial for perishable foods. Legal restriction that sale or use profited after the use by date. Common usage, vacuum packed, highly perishable items. Clarity, exceptions, and so on. And conditions for use. And again, we can see a number here. Conditions for use, that if we want to use them, the product must undergo sensory evaluation and be sensory evaluation means that you will look and check that how does it feel? Does it feel slimy or does it smell bad? If it passed sensory test, then we need to heat it at least to 70 degrees. And from the list we went through earlier, you can find out why it has to be heated to 70 degrees. To check what it actually kills. Then labels have also manufacturing date. It's kind of an optional. That label indicates when the product was made. Mentioning accuracy matters, that it helps you to avoid mistakes with the food rotation. What is a stock rotation? It is that you will use the one which came first in. That you always take the product which has been ready for the longest, longest from all the items you have. For storaging rules, just a couple of key items to remember: that perishable foods, strict storage is needed. Frozen foods has to keep frozen. What does it mean? That you can't refreeze something. That's not allowed. I have sometimes seen in an exam, for example, something has been defrosted almost, not completely, that you can actually freeze it again. But that's not actually allowed. Potatoes, yeah, follow the guidelines, baby foods, and so on. That's the general information. Food delivery and storage, the best practices. That, of course, good reminder, cleanliness first. That food delivery vehicles, they must be easy to clean. Just, again, common sense. But then, again, something to remember for the exam. Oh, I can't highlight. I wanted to highlight, but I can show with the mouse. I'm talking about this line here. From temperatures, the temporary temperature increase to -15 is acceptable during the delivery, but not over that. And what was the delivery storage temperature? It was -18. So you can see that it can go to -15, and that's still acceptable. And so on. And when you get delivery, inspect all the materials, date, packaging, usability, and temperature. That's about the self-control. But hey, we have gone through an hour and 10 minutes, and my dogs are crazy there. We will continue tomorrow. I'm really happy. We had a lot of people hanging here. in the middle of the evening going through the safety training material. Today, not tomorrow, I will have a bit cleaner presentation for us. We will continue from this point. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear, but my German Shepherd came to pick me from the basement. Leave in a chat that how was it? How did you get useful information, and is there something we could do better for the next time? How do you feel? Because we had a lot of material for the day. I counted that we had something like 4 hours for us. How do you feel? How this webinar was? Any comments? Now I'm trying to check that what my dog is doing. Let's write in the chat. I'll come also in the chat. I'll ask in the chat that how are you doing? Yeah, my dog is lying there, so not a emergency, but I have another dog waiting upstairs. But hey, don't be shy. Leave a comment in the chat. I can see we still have 13 people here with us. The peak was 16. That was quite amazing. Okay. Diliani found it very helpful, useful. That's the practice for it. I think we can improve a lot. But I can say that tomorrow I should be done with the previous work. I will again schedule the addition for this, and we will start from this point at 3 o'clock. You will find it from the scheduled streams, and it will save there, and we will leave there that you can go through it on your own time. But hey, I want to thank you. This one went really well, and we will continue tomorrow. We have a lot to go through. So you can send me WhatsApp message if there's something you would like to know more. I'm really happy to add it and create even better webinar for us. But now I need to say good night for you, and I'll take the dogs out, go to sleep. Tomorrow is a VAT day, a lot of paperwork, and then when I'm done with it, I come again hang with you. So see you tomorrow, and thank you for this stream. You made it possible. It was really, really good to be here.